The Lions run to the second round. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Small Town Society Franklin Football Show, right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. As for the second year in a row, Franklin is able to dispatch of Hallettsville 50-22 in that ground game. I mean, we all know how great the ground game for Franklin is, but man, it went off against Hallettsville. I think 491 yards. You had Jaden Jackson and Devin Hidrago combined for like 340 of those yards. And just a really good game. And I could tell, and I even say this in the interview, because he kind of brings it up. I could tell when we did the show last week that he was anxious about that game. He was ready to get that game going. And I think you always are that first round when you're a team like Franklin, because you want to see it. You can do everything you've done through the regular season, but till you get to that first round of the playoffs, you don't know how this team's going to react. Even when you return a good core, you don't return everybody from last year. You've had guys who this year are making their first playoff start, and you just want to see what happens. And I think the reaction was what we expected, but also you can just tell. I can tell. Maybe it's just because I've talked to him now for a few years. I can tell the difference this year or this week. I feel like Coach Fannin feels really good about the squad now. And they move on, and they'll take on an upstart Shepherd team who got their first playoff win since 1960. Good on them. They upset Kirbyville 42-28. They have got this running back, Preston Stevens. This is a young buck, sophomore. And this kid is going to be a beast as he gets better and better. And on this year, he's a bowling ball of a running back. He's real hard to bring down. He's not the most athletic, but he's got room to grow, and I think some of his athletic abilities as far as his quickness and stuff are continuing to develop. But he is a beast, and he is fun to watch. You will enjoy watching him run as the opponent's fans. Just some running backs, man, the way Jaden runs this way. That infectious, it just fires your team up, bouncing off tacklers, running over linebackers. And yeah, and as great as Franklin is, I think he'll run over a linebacker a time or two. But again, for Franklin, it's depth and it's multiple backs. And as we just talked about, like in this running game, this last game, and that's what's going to be the undoing. And Shepherd has holes in a lot of other spots, but still, first off, it's just fun to see a program who hasn't won in a long time. And heck, this is only their 16th time making the playoffs. We're going to do what we do each and every week, and that's talk to the head coach of Franklin about the win against Hallettsville, about the matchup against Shepherd. And we're going to do all that when we come back right here on the Small Town Society Franklin Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. Are you a Franklin fan and you're looking for game day gear? Check out Small Town Society. You can find them online at shopsmalltownsociety.com. For all your Franklin Day gear, they've got great shirts. They gave the studio a couple of them, and Grant and I love to wear them. I love to have the Hedrick Field one up on the mic arm during the show so everybody outside of Franklin can just see how great the quality of the shirt is, how great the logo is. So check them out again online at shopsmalltownsociety.com. You can also, of course, find them in Franklin at the Messy Nest Studios. And we thank them for being a supporter of not only the Franklin Football Show, but also our state 3A show, Sideline to Sideline. And they also have great holiday-themed shirts for the ladies. They have Texas-themed shirts. They have great deals. You go each week to their website and check out the deals they have. And also right now, if you use the promo code free shipping, I bet you can guess what you get. That's right, free shipping. And again, check them out. Small Town Society, shop smalltownsociety.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Small Town Society. Terry Bennett back here on the Franklin Football Show, brought to you by Small Town Society. Now joined by the head coach of the Lions, Coach Mark Fannin. And, Coach, congratulations. You get the first playoff win of 2023 against a solid Hallettsville team. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yes, sir. I was very pleased of how we came out and played against a quality football team. Hallettsville's they're a pretty good football team, and I was not worried. That it was a really good first round playoff game, and I was anxious to get that sucker going and seeing how we compared against them and how we played against them, and I was very satisfied of how our kids came out and executed on all three phases of the game. Our offense had that rhythm going from the very first play, and we just kind of had the momentum and rhythm going, and when we get that rhythm going on offense, seems like everything's clicking. It's a fun thing to watch and be a part of, and defensively, I thought we were swarming to the ball, getting to the we had several PBUs because that quarterback over there at Hallettsville, he can sling the ball now, and most of the time we were in great position. Our secondary guys were and made some great plays. And now they hit us with a few big plays, and that's going to happen when you got some players like they do over there in Hallettsville. But we limited the big plays, and it turned out to be a great Friday night.
It's funny you talk about it. You said you were, not nervous, but you were ready to get to it. And I kind of noted that in your tone in last week's episode. Was it just that first round? You just want to see how this team reacts in that first round? Or was it you were worried about Hallettsville? Because as you said, they were much improved over last year's team.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. You always want to see what your team's about in the playoffs, and that's always a piece of it. Is how are they going to go out under the lights, knowing it's a win or lose, you win or go home, situation. And you want to know how they respond to that. And also, that whole district from top to bottom that we matched up against was a very talented district and very good football teams. And normally you don't see that in the first round. But, you've always wondered, how does this district stack up against that other district? And, so I was, that was in the back of my mind too. But, I was proud of how we came out and executed and played.
Well, and you talk about you got to be careful. Kirbyville went into last week's game. They were 8-3, and a lot of them are talking about being a dark horse in the region. And then they get upset by your opponent this week in Shepherd. What are your thoughts on Shepherd?
Shepherd's playing really good football right now. They are a scrappy, high effort bunch of kids. They play hard. It don't matter what the score is. Mm-hmm. They're getting after it and playing really good football. The momentum right now in Shepherd, they got the momentum. They're always playing with that underdog mentality, and that's always scary going into the football game. You worry about your kids. If your kids are going to be able to rise up to the occasion and play their style of football, because their mentality right now, they're the underdogs, and they've been the underdogs the last few weeks now, and they've been beating the brakes off pretty good football teams. So we're going to have to come out ready to go because if you don't, they're going to control the clock, and we're going to have to take care of the ball offensively, because I feel like they're going to try to limit our possessions and on offense, because they run a similar style of offense we do. So we can't put the ball on the ground. We can't play behind the chains. We're going to have to be productive when we do get the ball on offense.
Well, and you bring up a good point. They're the underdog, and they've also basically been playing the playoffs for the last 3 weeks, because after they lost to Diboll all the way in October 13th, a month ago, they basically had to win out to just make the playoffs. They did. And as you've talked many times before, confidence is such a big factor for teams.
It is. And they're playing with high confidence right now. So I don't care what place they got in district or what their record is. But when you get a bunch of kids that come out and play together with high confidence and they got that momentum rolling, and they're believing they can win when they step on the field, it's going to be a tough task. So we're looking forward to towards Friday night, and it should be a great game, and it's should be another good playoff atmosphere.
I know you appreciate good old school running backs, and their running back is just that, Preston Stevens. He is one of those guys. He's not going to wow you with athleticism, but man, it's going to take 5 guys to bring him down.
He's a tough runner. He's definitely a guy that runs tough and hard, and he's a physical kid. You're definitely going to have to get multiple hats on him to bring him down. We preach 11 hats to the ball here in Franklin, and we're definitely going to have to get to him, because he's a bull coming through. as that line, and he's a pretty good player and playing pretty good football right now. This might be the fastest football game ever played in Texas high school football.
That is true. I was actually going to bring that up. Good point between y'all two. And it's so funny. You say this multiple times. It's so funny with the style of offense that you play that other teams then want to turn around and try to limit your possessions, because that's exactly what you're wanting to do.
Right, exactly. I don't really care for that very often, but but it is, and it should be a great game. It's going to be an old smash mouth football game, the kind I like and I like to watch and be a part of. And like I said, this sucker might last an hour and we might be back on the road coming home. So I think it's going to be a really quick football game.
When you talk about their confidence, and we've talked about their backs against the wall, for me, that tells me that y'all need to jump on them early and kind of get them to start doubting themselves. Yeah,
that's the kind of the game plan. Hopefully we can, kind of jump out on top early, and that way you kind of limit our possessions. They're going to have to play catch up, so they're going to have to run, and maybe we can get a few more possessions that way, because they'll be playing catch up if we're able to jump on them early. So trying to get them out of their game plan. I don't know if that's their game plan or not. I'm just assuming that's kind of what it's going to be, but who knows? They might come out, playing the normal style they've always played all year. So
here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe.
I always love talking to Coach Fanning, because we talk not only, of course, the game and the opponent and last week's game, but we talk about things like we said, what are you going to see each and every week? Franklin is one of those teams that they're going to always get the best from their opponent. We've talked about that, of course, and you see that. But you're also going to get teams that, schematically will try to change things up, huge curveballs. They'll do things that they haven't done all year because they're trying to trip up Franklin. And a lot of times you can see it doesn't necessarily always work, but sometimes it does. Anahuac last year stayed in that game for a little while simply because they played keep away. And so I'm always interested to see the adjustments that teams do. And all teams do adjustments. Franklin will do some things that they haven't done all year. But it's always, to me, a little bit more interesting to see when the underdog, what does the underdog do to try to beat the big boy on the block? And so that's always fun to see. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can email them to me, Terry@S2Ssport.com. Please thank Small Town Society for being a sponsor on this show. Also thank Walter Commander. He's the one that got this started so we could have a show before I was able to find Small Town Society. And I love doing the Franklin show. I love doing all my shows, but, there's certain ones that I truly, truly love to do, and Franklin is one of them. We've appreciated the listenership that we get from y'all, not only on this show, but on Sideline to Sideline and the feedback, and we really love talking Franklin football. So let's hope we keep talking it. And, hey, next week it's Thanksgiving football, and that is the best football that there is in Texas high school football. But we'll talk about it next week right here on the Small Town Society Franklin Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.